I have left Hunter inside with a giant bowl of crunchy chocolate Bliss Balls, happily munching away. I have escaped to the van because I would love to be traveling right now, but we can't, but also because it is raining outside if you can't see. And I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you about one of my favorite positive psychology theories, which is called the happiness pie. I think it's wonderful and it can really help to change your perspective on your own happiness and what we're in control of. So the happiness pie is a theory that set out to explore our own individual well-being when compared to someone else's well-being. What gives someone a higher well-being than someone else? What does that come down to? So there are three things that it comes down to, and one is our circumstances. And our circumstances are things like whether we have a job or not, whether we have a house or not, are we poor, are we unemployed, are we rich, do we live in a mansion, are we married with children, anything that happens kind of in our external life, what country we're in, they are our circumstances. The second point that it comes down to is our genetic makeup. So in our actual DNA, what is inherited from our parents that makes up our well-being and where we're starting. And the third factor that comes into this is our intentional activity. So what do we put into our day? So which one has greater influence in our well-being? Is it our circumstances, our genetic makeup, or our intentional activity? Now, I know a lot of us want to think it's our circumstances. It really helps us to shift that external blame onto someone else. But actually, it is our genetic makeup. 50% of our well-being when compared to someone else comes down to our genetic makeup. And what makes us happier or less happy than someone else is 50% predetermined by our family. That's just, you can't do much about that. But only 10% is to do with our circumstances. Only 10% of what's happening around us has an impact on our well-being when compared to someone else. An example looking at this is when we may have traveled to a third world country, or you look at these children who seemingly have nothing, but they are so happy. They are so happy and so grateful. Yet we seem to have everything and we're not. That is a really clear-cut example of how our circumstances don't actually determine our happiness. Our circumstances don't change our well-being all that much. It's only 10%. Which leaves, which is very exciting but also overwhelming, a whopping 40% of our pie comes down to our intentional activity. What on earth are you doing in your life, in your day, intentionally to boost your well-being compared to someone else? Now, very easily you can say, 40% isn't much of the pie. Like, why couldn't it be 50% or more than half? If you actually sat down to physically eat 40% of a pie, you would feel very sick. 40% is a lot. Your intentional activity comes down to three main areas, and one is your volitional behavior. So what goals are you setting in place? What are you doing? One comes down to your cognitive activity. What are you thinking? What is your mindset? What are you putting into your thoughts, and what are you projecting out? And the other one is your intentional behaviors. Are you waking up earlier to go in the gym? Are you going for a walk? Are you eating healthy? Are you socializing with good, positive, supportive people? So your behaviors, your cognitive thought patterns, and your volitional activity, they all make up your intentional activity. That is 40% that you have complete control over. Now, what's incredible, and you can take this one step further, is that you kind of have control over the entire pie. You have access to the entire happiness pie, because when you truly activate your intentional activity, it changes your circumstances. When you are happier and more positive, you are more inclined to leave that job that was causing you stress. You are more inclined to leave those relationships that are giving you grief. You are more inclined to better yourself and better your life. So now all of a sudden, we might only have 40% access to the intentional activity, but we can now change the 10% of our circumstances. Also, you have control over your genetic makeup to some degree. Epigenetics is really important. So you may be predisposed to something such as diabetes. Maybe it runs in your family. But based on your intentional activity and how you live, you do not have to get diabetes. Most things run in families because habits and patterns run in families. It doesn't always mean that it's in your DNA completely to get that. So if you look after yourself, you can find that you might actually have access to more of that 50% predetermined genetic part of your pie as well. When you start changing simple behaviors like the way in which you live. Are you sleeping enough? Are you minimizing your stress? Are you minimizing what negative food you're putting into your body? How you move your body. These things really make a huge difference. So today, don't be overwhelmed. However, feel empowered, feel inspired, feel motivated to understand that you are in complete control at the end of the day. You have access to this huge chunk of the happiness pie. Remember, it's about comparing your well-being to someone else's. Why is this person so much happier than me? Well, let's change it. They are probably activating that 40% of their intentional activity so they can boost their own well-being. You can do that too. And by doing that, by putting in those strategies, by changing your behaviors and your thought patterns and setting goals, you can change your circumstances and you can change your genetics as well. Or not so much change, but inhibit certain things from coming to a front in your everyday life. So leave today not only knowing how to make crunchy chocolate delicious bliss balls, but to really feel motivated and empowered to understand that you are in control of your life, your happiness, and your well-being. So good luck eating all of that pie. Don't feel too sick, but it's time to take back control of your well-being and increase your positive emotions. Have a wonderful Wednesday, and I will touch base with you next week.